Hey everybody, this is Kohdok here with another Toy Fair 2016 update. Well, I flipped a coin and it's finally Hasbro's turn. Hasbro actually had a fairly interesting show this year. They had a huge press event which we had to march out to in the cold that actually started with this odd kind of E3 style presentation which, of course, I was not allowed to film. However, I was able to learn a few interesting details from this presentation. One, the Titan Trypticon is being made and is on the way, and two, My Little Pony is getting a Christmas episode with a really catchy song in it. Yeah, they at least let us see some of the storyboarding pencil tests. Unfortunately, there wasn't really much of a response for all the Where's Ray hashtags other than My Little Pony toys aimed at boys. I'm not kidding. Continuing the trend with a lot of these things that contain both action figure and fashion doll segments, they actually created a series called Knights of Harmony, which is a My Little Pony Friendship is Magic line aimed more at boys. It includes pony figures with pre-molded hair with a whole bunch of flexible joints and a gigantic spike with all sorts of weird action features. I don't know, it seems a bit bizarre to me, but we'll see how it catches on. Now, they may not have had Trypticon to show off, but they did have another Titan, Fortress Maximus. Fortress Maximus is even bigger and more glorious than the Metroplex I showed off last time. He is well over 2 feet tall and can transform into Autobot City, which works well with a lot of the smaller style Transformers. He also has Cerebros, which comes off and forms into its own Transformer. It says all sorts of cool things, like Fortress Maximus! Yeah, you can thank the E3 style presentation for that one. But yeah, the removing heads is actually the gimmick for the newer line of Transformers. They're going back to sort of the Headmaster style with the smaller Transformers that become the heads onto the larger Transformers. However, unlike the previous Headmaster series, all of these heads are the same size and are cross-compatible, meaning you can swap all the heads with each other, meaning you could take another head and put it on top of Cerebros to put it on top of Fortress Maximus. They're also continuing their classic series line by putting out a large-scale style Soundwave and Blaster. On the Transformers Prime side of things, it's a lot of more of the same. They have a new Optimus Prime that combines with a Minicon to gain all sorts of cool aerial fighting modes. They're also going to put out some Transformers Universe-styled Grimlock and other figures which have a whole lot more of the flexibility and detail you've come to expect from the line. While they didn't reveal anything for Rebel 1, they did, however, show off a bunch of the Captain America Civil War figures, including a first look at the movie Falcon, which actually looks pretty good. They also had a bunch of other figures and these smaller scale figures, which are going to be a whole lot cheaper and actually look really good. They kind of remind me of the Agents of Mask figures a little bit, in more ways than one. They also have more to the Marvel Legends line, including the first Femme Thor, which is... it's a figure, I guess, along with a combiner to form the Red Skull Onslaught. They also introduced some visual effects like Captain America throwing a shield and Iron Man firing his repulsor blasts. They're also going to be putting out some large-scale cosplay items with a huge Captain America shield that is literally this big, and a huge Masterpiece Iron Man helmet that can actually kind of open the visor and kind of be out part of the way. Although perhaps on the sillier side is their gigantic Spider-Man, who has a set of swappable heads, one of which I think might see some use similar to that kind of infamous one for Woody from Toy Story. They've also kept up with their Hero Mashers line. They're actually coming out with some smaller Hero Mashers who still have the big head, so you can actually transfer the big head onto the little body. They're also going to have one that's kind of traditional, like Hollywood monsters, like vampires and werewolves and stuff, that they actually didn't talk about in their E3 style review, and I kind of wish they had. And Star Wars. They did at least have some Rey action figures to show off, including a large-scale one. There's also going to be a set that includes her and the orange alien. And check out the figure I got in my press bag. It's Han Solo, it's Han Solo, it's Han Solo, it's Han... oh no. Oh no. Moving more into the import side of things, they only kind of teased at the new Beyblade Burst, although it's been out in a while in Japan, so we all know what it looks like. And they also showed off a series called Blazing Team. Blazing Team, if you can believe it, is Beyblade with yo-yos.
Like, you have a yo-yo. It's all...
yeah. Although a lot of the yo-yos actually look pretty good. They have some higher grade ones, like they have one where the entire yo-yo face is on a separate bearing, so you can actually whip it out with both hands by grabbing it in one hand, and that means you get 2 hands to wrench this thing out to power it up. I don't know how well that works or how that affects the spin, but it actually looks pretty cool, and I've gotten myself signed up for a preview pack, so you'll get to see more of that on the channel. Although, on the other hand, they have completely replaced the original Japanese series with an American one, and we remember how that went last time with Kaijudo. And where would we be without Yokai Watch? Hasbro's Yokai Watch actually fostered a great deal of goodwill with me when it first came out, thanks to its lower price point and its amazing items, and that goodwill got a little bit burned through, I'm afraid to say. Now, they will be continuing some of the interesting action feature lines, including a Talking Whisper and hip-hop hero Komajiro. At least they got the naming scheme right. They're also going to have some special covers for the earlier versions of the watch, although they're a bit different from the ones for the U in that instead they're big face covers that go on the watch head. However, then they rolled out the Yokai Watch Type 0. And I frankly was not impressed. The Yokai Watch Type 0 incorporates a gimmick where each of the medals has a series of microglyphs that form a little animation when you shine it on the wall. Yeah, that sounds eerily familiar, doesn't it? Any of you guys remember the last time I showed off something with that exact same gimmick on the show? I do. I can still remember the screams. I mean, seriously, Hasbro, I talked with you guys about this in the past with the Beyblade. This is the sort of thing that happens when you try to dip your hands into licensed series that you've picked up where they don't really belong. Although at least I can see where they're trying to go with the gimmick on the Yokai Watch, in that it's meant to be the flashlight you shine on the wall, you're finally finding a yokai with it, and I guess I can see where that's kind of cool. I guess really we're going to have to see how it affects the price point, and if Hasbro's otherwise promising price point on the Yokai Watch starts to dwindle. Not to mention, the addition of the microglyphs just makes the medals look kinda ugly. There were also no large collection units like I suggested in my medallion video. I actually had to go to the Underground Toys booth in order to find some, and even then, there's no idea if they're ever going to get released or picked up. They also showed off their brand new Yokai Watch card game. A card game that works by having you place the literal medals on the cards in order to increase their power. Didn't I have like a 40-minute rant against NFL Rush Zone about selling you incomplete cards in your booster packs? Seriously, the only game that has ever managed to pull that sort of thing off has it so that when you collect all the pieces, you win the game! That, and there's already the Yokai Watch In Spirit Battle card game, which is already available in Japan. It actually has a bunch of really interesting and complex rules, such as the front row and the back row, as well as the In Spirit feature, which, during battle, you can play a yokai from your hand that inspirits the yokai that's involved in battle. It can be something that, like, gives it a power boost, or it can be like Ningyo, which, when your yokai gets defeated, you instead draw 2 cards. And any game that bullies Ningyo is one I can approve of. And to make matters worse, there's already an English version of it!
Time to strike back with my turn now!
I mean, I can understand if Hasbro couldn't get the license to it, but the explanation I was given as to why the card game was made this generic seeming is that, you know, the little kids, they don't really like the big complex games. Are you kidding me? Kids don't like complex games. Oh yeah, that's why Yu-Gi-Oh! And Pokemon died out right away while the Winx Club card game is still going strong. No, that is utter baloney. I started playing Magic the Gathering when it still had a whole bunch of really archaic rules back in 4th edition when I was still in elementary school. That is a total baloney argument. And, you know, like with Yokai Watch Monopoly, it's also an excuse to sell exclusive medals. Yeah, they put out a Yokai Watch Monopoly. So that's a look at Hasbro. I'm excited about the things in Transformers and Beyblade, and perhaps Blazing Team, although I'm trepidatious as to the direction Star Wars and Yokai Watch are taking. So it's going to be a very big, tumultuous year for Hasbro. They had a ton of success last year, so I guess this is really the year they can take a whole bunch of risks. And I'm excited to see how it is moving forward. Until next time, stay tuned to this channel for more Toy Fair 2016 news. Until next time, this is Kohdok signing off.